Different color, same color, different color, same color. I don't know. What's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Justin, and today I am presenting you my album review of Emerson, Lake and Palmer's self-titled Emerson, Lake and Palmer, which was released in 1970. This is their debut album, and as with many of my review videos, you can go back and watch my reactions to each of the songs on this album as well. I'll have them in a playlist for you along with this video. Carl Palmer, Keith Emerson, and Greg Lake come together from The Nice, from Atomic Rooster, from King Crimson, to form this power trio. And I think that this debut album by ELP is just a testament to the talent and just the genius of these three members brought together, brought into songs, brought into an album. And it's quite the showcase. The technical prowess of the musicians, of these three, is just undeniable. I mean, it's totally undeniable. For them to just be three members, they have such a full sound. For this to be their debut album is more than impressive. They display a high level of musicianship and skill in their respective instruments, but it's performed with such a high caliber, a high degree, that I think that if you listen to this album, you'll be impressed at least by the musicianship. I don't personally feel that the songwriting always comes together in every single song, but I do think that this is an impressive debut nonetheless. The album opens up with The Barbarian, which, like a barbarian, it just charges at you and just destroys what your expectations of whatever this was going to be. Whatever you thought this album was going to be, if you hadn't heard of ELP or you didn't really know anything of them, I think The Barbarian just demolished that. This gargantuan adaptation of Bela Bartok's Allegro Barbaro brings the same melodies over from that song, but really just intensifies everything, brings everything down, and it is so heavy. The organ, that deep fuzz that's on the bass, oh my gosh. The constant percussion by Palmer driving this song, I think it really opens you up to 1970, all the experimentation and progression that was taking place in music. This beautiful hybrid theory of classical music and getting into harder rock and to an extent maybe a precursor to metal. It's just really interesting to see this formula come together in this song, and I think that in any capacity it's just a cool song. It sounds good, everyone sounds 100% on point and just on fire as they're driving you through this one. The organ has a certain sinister tone, a certain malevolence to it. The bass work by Greg is just possessed in this one, and like I said before, the drumming, I really should say percussion, is literally on fire. Okay, maybe not literally, because that's not how the word works, but you know, literally. And immediately after this intense onslaught of music, we are gently laid down into calm waters with the second song, Take a Pebble. It opens with this beautiful, I almost think lemon zest, but this beautiful zest as Emerson strikes his fingers across the piano strings. It brings in this very moody and almost gravely instrumentation that is darkly subtle, but all the more atmospheric at the same time. And it's the first time that we hear Greg on vocals with ELP. And listen, we've heard Greg before, but doesn't he just have one of those voices that carries? He displays a presence. He can sing with tenderness, or he can sing with absolute passion and power. And as this beautiful jazz-like arrangement continues on throughout the song, we eventually get into this little acoustic folk-like section that kind of shifts and comes out of nowhere as it fades into it. At this particular moment in the album, you've already heard so much of what ELP is capable of. From heavy, organ-driven and bass-driven monstrosities of classical and hard rock-edged music into these tender and almost more compassionate moments with jazz and even bringing in folk. But this beautiful folk-like guitar that's playing at this moment, which wouldn't sound out of place at a campfire, as a matter of fact, it kind of gives you the sense that this is an album that's going to be showcasing all of the variety and all of the things that ELP can do, and all of the potential for what they're going to do in the future. After this, we have an extended break that's led by Emerson, and it's just a beautiful display of what he can do. He really does show off a lot here, and I mean that in the best way possible. It's the great kind of showing off. And then we have a beautiful and excellent bass display by Greg, showing you that he's gonna sing it, but dude, he can perform a driving bass line. At the same time, the vocals return for one last hurrah, one last send-off before we get sent to the knife. The knife edge. Knife Edge opens with a big and quick bang before it settles into this smoky and dusty vocal and bass harmony, which, makes sense because
It's being handled by the same person.
which just kind of hovers along. It's a really nice mood, and I love the vocal presentation in that song in particular. And then those big organ riffs that kind of act as a chorus and a returning motif. There's some beautiful and subtle percussion, of course, delivered by Palmer, delivered during these sections. And I feel like this is one of the strongest songs on the album. And then the break between Emerson and Palmer is just, what? It's like this Transylvanian castle just rose up in front of us, and we're being led through these draconian hallways, and I don't know, it feels so like haunting but cool. It reminds me of Castlevania, for those of you that know that game. It's so cool. I love the break, I love the solo, I love everything that especially Carl and Keith do in that section. Moving into the following song, The Three Fates, based off of the three fates of Greek mythology, we are greeted and welcomed in with this giant mountain of an organ riff. This massive organ greets us, and it leads us once again into this Transylvanian castle, but this time with a little bit of a twist. This is one of those songs where the classical and the gothic kind of influence really showcase and are really displayed. And to be 100% honest, I don't feel that this song is as interesting as a whole. It kind of feels kind of separated, and it doesn't really come well together. And for me, it's just not that interesting to listen to, but I cannot deny that there are some beautiful moments of piano displayed with some flourish. But overall, I don't know, this song comes across a little bit messy to me. And then Tank just comes rolling through town, rolls in. I would highly encourage you to listen to the drum and bass pattern in that song, because I feel like rhythmically, ELP can be so intense and so melodic at certain points, and their rhythm section is just really interesting and fun to listen to. There's a little bit of a playful back and forth between Emerson, Lake, and then them versing Palmer before it splits off into Palmer performing a drum solo in this song. And when I say drum solo, I mean it's a little bit over 2 minutes, and he is like performing, okay? Now, on repeated listens of this song, of course going through the album for the review and just for myself in general, I did find my interest in the drum solo section waning after a while. I wasn't as interested, but once again, one, we can't deny the technicality of the solo and just the display of percussion that Palmer brings into it. But I also do feel that even if you don't love drum solos, it's at least pretty interesting, and I especially think that he plays along with the song into the song, and then that transition out of his solo back into the final part, the transition is phenomenal. I don't know what they did in there. There's some panning and phasing and something, but that is just sweet. And the solo is very inspiring to hear, especially if you're a percussionist. I feel that you have to listen to it. You have to pay attention to Mr. Palmer. And then as it gets back into the rest of the song, I don't feel it's necessarily the most interesting song. I actually feel it's kind of average as a whole, but I also do feel like it's pretty entertaining. It's been a while. Can we hear Mr. Lake sing again? I kind of miss Greg. Finally, in the last song, Lucky Man, I can count myself as a lucky man, as I get to listen to Mr. Greg Lake's voice again, which I am in love with. As the last song on the album, this beautiful and soft acoustic track kind of brings these shred gods back down to earth for us to listen to in a much more down to earth way. And there is a certain intimacy in the music in this song specifically, as we've gone on these huge journeys and epic shifts in music and just grand moments, and we've kind of simmered it all back down and brought it back down to the core. There's some very lifted and inspiring harmonies throughout the song. I feel that this is a very proper and fitting end to the album, showing you their potential, of course, through all of the previous songs, but then bringing it back down and showing you that they have heart. You know, if you didn't catch that in the previous songs, this is there to remind you, like, they have heart. There are emotions connected to these powerful displays of musicianship. It's not just showing off to show off. There's more. And in a song like this, I feel like Palmer could have chosen to play it really easy and kind of very straightforward and straight lined. But I don't feel like he did play totally streamlined, which to me is a great decision. He throws in a lot of beautiful flourishes, a lot of beautiful details throughout the song, showing you that even in a song like this, he can bring out the percussion monster that he is. And the drumming really fills out the song and kind of adds this beautiful radiance into it alongside with the guitar, the harmonies, I mean, just everything. The bass line, it just sings throughout here as well. And while I read that a lot of people liked it, I actually really don't like the ending Moog solo at the end. It just, I don't know, it kind of killed the tone a little bit for me, and I don't really feel it fits. Fortunately, it's quickly forgotten because, you know, it's over. But I feel like they could have done something with it that would melodically fit. But for me, I don't know, just kind of feels tossed on at the end. All in all, I think that this is an extremely impressive album, like I said, especially from such young musicians, and this being their debut. But let me move this over so we can talk about my favorite moment, my favorite lyrics, and then my song rankings on the album. My favorite moment in the album is the organ solo from Knife Edge, if you couldn't tell. That is just, to me, mind-blowing. It does everything right. It's everything that I want out of an organ solo, but it's the percussion, especially underneath it, that really drives it home. I'm gonna play a little bit of it. It's from 320 onwards. Come on! Listen, you can listen to the rest of that if you haven't already. You definitely should. But that is just a classic solo. I haven't heard a lot about that solo. Why aren't people talking about that solo? Like, out of everything in the album. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff in the album, but that solo kind of kills it. I had to move the lighting. My favorite lyrics on the album are from Knife Edge. I mean, Knife Edge is just a great song, don't you think? Tread the road, cross the abyss. I like how he says it. I have to say it like him. Take a look down at the madness. On the streets of this city, only specters still have pity. Patient queues for the gallows. Sing the praises of the hallowed. Our machines feed the furnace. If they take us, they will burn us. I don't exactly know what this song is about, but while going through the lyrics and while re-listening to the album and the song, trying to get some sort of message and story, I was kind of getting the idea of someone in a higher place, perhaps of nobility, looking down on the common people, looking down on the kingdom that he rules, and kind of questioning himself. And kind of getting advice and perspective from his advisors. Like, take a look down, see what's going on in the streets. You know, all of these miserable people, they're waiting for the gallows. There's only specters still have pity. Like, don't have pity on these people. Only ghosts have pity. Our machines feed the furnace. If they take us, they will burn us. So allow, like, these machines that we've put in place, these things that we've put in place to keep on going, even if it hurts the common people, allow it to keep on going because it's what feeds us. And if we go down there and if we join them, trying to help them, trying to be good people, then we're going to get burned in the process. And while I don't think that's actually what the story or the message is, that's kind of what I got like with mental pictures, and those lyrics really spoke to me. Really, the lyrics in the whole song are great, but that specific section I thought was really just brilliantly written. And then jumping into my song rankings for the album, Knife Edge, Take a Pebble, The Barbarian, Lucky Man, Tank, and ending in last, The Three Fates. This album is a showcase of what happens when three brilliant young men come together, put their musicianship and their devices together, and really push to break out of potential, to really bring progression into music, whether that is classical, whether that is rock, whether that is something else. I think Yngwie Malmsteen would like this album, actually. And while I don't always feel that every song comes together totally as a song, I do feel that every song on this album is a nice display of what the musicians can do, and when the songs come together, they come together with a little bit of magic. Guys, I hope that you enjoyed this album review. Of course, I would love to know your thoughts on this one. You can join me on Twitter, you can join me in the comments down below. I have a Patreon, you're more than welcome to join. You really don't have to. I'd rather you just subscribe, watch the video, enjoy the video, and that's kind of it. Hope you guys have a beautiful day. Thank you so much as always for watching. I'll talk to you tomorrow.